Welcome into the 2-minute drill alongside the Athletics and the Tundra podcast. Matt Schneidman. I'm Michael Gross. We're talking Packers, Eagles. The defending Super Bowl champions come into town. I know the question on everybody's mind is, how do you stop the tush push?
Yeah, well, the common refrain out of Lambeau Field this week, to get serious, was keep them out of those situations where they're going to run it, those 3rd and 1s, those 4th and 1s. But I talked to Carl Brooks, the Packers defensive tackle, this week, and he said you got to get low, keep your leverage, drive your feet, play until the whistle. So there is a technical way to stop it. Not many teams have, but the Packers are going to give it their best shot if they get it tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people that are fans and people across the league giving the Packers grief for what they had gone through and what the league had gone through against the tush push. All kidding aside, though, the Packers have lost 3 straight to the Eagles, including 2 last season and the one in the playoffs. How do they right the ship tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think they have to get out to a fast start on offense. It's cliche, but they've averaged 7.5 points in the first half over their last 6 games. They're not always playing from behind, but their offense needs to help out their defense to start. They haven't played that complimentary 4 quarters that they've preached. They've been close, but not for, almost 2 months now since those first 2 games of the season. Tomorrow night is a chance to not only show how far you've come as a team since that playoff loss last year, but also kind of right the ship and write the narrative on this season, because it's been kind of a rocky road since those first 2 games of the season.
Yeah, Matt, you mentioned sort of not playing complimentary football for those 4 quarters. Let's talk first quarter, because in the last 4 games, they've scored just 7 total points in all 4 first quarters combined. Is there something to these lethargic starts? Has Matt LaFleur talked about them at all? Or is it just like, okay, we're going to trust the process because we're still winning games, but they're just kind of happening later rather than earlier?
Yeah, it's not always one thing. It's not always a black and white issue. But I think one thing that the Packers would like to get going earlier and more often is their run game. Tucker Kraft, who's obviously out for the season, said earlier this year that the Packers build everything off their run game. The run game has to do well to set up the play action, to set up everything in the passing game. The run game hasn't been what it was last year when the Packers ran the ball more than they had in any of Matt LaFleur's prior 5 years. If they can get Josh Jacobs going and they need more from that offensive line in a run blocking sense, then I think that could really open up some things early in games.
Yeah, you mentioned Tucker Kraft. He goes down last week, presumably will be out for the season, of course. But there were some other injuries, some little minor tic-tac injuries this week. Matthew Golden on the injury report, Savion Williams, Dontavian Wicks still on the injury report. Who do they turn to, and are all those guys, who's going to play? Will Jordan have other options rather than, the low guys on the totem pole to throw to?
Well, Matthew Golden missed the last 2 practices of the week. That's not a good sign, but he is listed as questionable. Dontavian Wicks said we'll see Monday when he was asked if he's going to play. He hasn't played the last 2 games. So you're already without a guy like Jaden Reed. You're already without arguably your most important pass catcher in Tucker Kraft. Golden and Wicks being questionable is huge. We'll find out officially if they'll play about an hour and a half before kickoff. But you're going to need to rely on guys like Christian Watson, obviously, Romeo Doubs, Josh Jacobs in the passing game, and Luke Musgrave needs to step up. When he came here in 2023 as a 2nd-round pick, Kraft was a 3rd-round pick in that year's draft, we all thought that Luke Musgrave was going to be what Tucker Kraft became. Now's his chance, just like Tucker Kraft took advantage of his opportunity when Musgrave got hurt in 2023, to take advantage of his own opportunity with Kraft hurt.
Yeah, for the tight ends, I know that John Fitzpatrick and both Luke Musgrave said all they want to do is win. At the end of the day, they just want to win. And one thing the Packers have done that have kind of prevented them from winning more games than they already have is not stopping the run as well as they could have, especially Rico Dowdle at 130 yards last week from scrimmage. If it's hard to stop Rico Dowdle, and I know the Eagles, you mentioned, or you did say on Twitter, they're going to be without their starting center, the Eagles. If it's hard to stop Rico Dowdle, how do they stop Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, well, they stopped Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery in week 1. They've stopped some other good running backs this year. Last time I checked, I don't know what the updated tally is as we talk on Sunday night, but the Packers were 5th in the league in rush defense entering week 10. So they're still pretty good. They just haven't had a last solid game and a half, first half against the Steelers and then the whole game against the Panthers. Saquon Barkley obviously last year was the best running back in the NFL. Hasn't really gotten the run game going with the Eagles in that front this year, but he still poses an absolutely massive challenge. So it's going to add a test for this Packers run defense. Good for them that they get Colby Wooden back after he missed a big chunk of last Sunday's game. Wooden will play on Monday night, but it's going to be a tall task regardless, and I'm going to have to see it to believe it when they talk about stopping Saquon Barkley.
Question for you. No Jair Alexander tomorrow night?
No.
Or on Monday night?
Yeah, I think I know you asked that sarcastically, but he's been through the ringer with his knee, and it seems the word out of Philadelphia from the reporters up there is that he'll play next week. I think they play the Lions next week, but it seems after they signed him, still needs to get some things with the knee right, get acclimated to a different defense. So I didn't expect him to play a massive role anyway, but to see that he's not even going to travel to the game, I was looking forward to seeing him before the game, but that won't happen.
Sure. Fill in the blank. Packers beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football if
they win the turnover battle. And I know most teams that win the turnover battle win games, but if they can turn this Eagles offense over, and keep in mind, the Eagles have the fewest turnovers in the NFL entering Week 10. The Packers tied for the second fewest turnovers. So these teams do not give the ball away. If they can force a turnover, or even keep the turnover battle even, just not lose it, they will set themselves up well to win this game.
You got a score prediction?
I think I said Eagles 27-24 earlier in the week, so I'm going to stick with that.
All righty. Eagles 27-24 from Matt Schneidman. I'm Michael Gross, and this has been the 2-Minute Drill.